We're not buying it. Let's look in detail at quotes from the Republican agenda. Republicans claim that economic growth and job creation are falling. They claim high corporate tax rates and increasing regulatory burdens cause this. No, if they're falling, it's due to oligarchs siphoning off billions of dollars into their pockets and leaving zip in the salaries of workers who've engineered the recovery. Republicans claim free trade will truly be fair trade for all concerned, but cheap goods from slave labor abroad put our small businesses out of business. They say we can't allow governments to limit American access to their markets while stealing our design and technology. Well, negotiation requires better skills than that. Other nations avoid self-promoting narcissistic Americans. Republicans are against the Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2009. This act protects consumers from unscrupulous Wall Street traders and wealthy bankers. This election, they and oil and gas moguls conspired to provide billions of dollars for the Republican-owned media to blitz America with ads to buy Congress and promote unfair laws. Republicans want to scale back the federal role in the housing market, promote responsibility on the part of borrowers and lenders. That is, eliminate federal oversight that identifies and penalizes fraud. Republicans would end the government mandates that require banks to satisfy lending quotas to specific groups. That is, minorities and low-income groups would be unable to get loans. Republicans would eliminate the affirmatively furthering fair housing regulation because it would allow integration of minorities. They claim that livability initiative is meant to coerce people out of their cars. The initiative supported community transit at low cost to citizens. They'd phase out the federal transit program. They'd reform National Environmental Policy Act that preserves the environment for future generations. Republicans support privatization in transportation, education, welfare, policing. Privatization means private companies can set their own rules. The customer will not get the same service or equal value from different vendors, for example, ITT or Trump University. Republicans want to simplify the tax code, reduce corporate rates, transition to a territorial system, and create incentives for investment and innovation. It is rich citizens united, promoting rich citizens, an oligarchy fueled by self-interest instead of equal rights for all. Republicans would end the use of disparate impact theory in enforcing anti-discrimination laws with regard to lending. That is, like Trump prefers, it'd be okay to discriminate against minorities. They want clear non-discrimination policies to ensure all employees have a chance to succeed based solely on their merits. This is too vague to be effective and can be interpreted any way anyone wants. This is called discrimination. Republicans want employee stock ownership plans that enable workers to become capitalists. Unfortunately, getting employees to buy their stock only further increases the wealth of the 1%. Federal employees receive extraordinary pension benefits and vacation time wildly out of line with those of the private sector. Well, the private sector citizens often have no pensions or vacation time. The Republicans don't want the private sector to know what salaries and benefits would be received if moguls hadn't siphoned money into the wealthiest 1%. Republicans speak of a constitutional government. They want to enforce regulations from 240 years ago, before flush toilets, before indoor plumbing, before electric refrigerators, phones, cars, TV, internet, and iPhones. Republicans ignore the UN Declaration of Civil Rights that says clearly that all humans have the right to their personal privacy. Why do they insist on government control of women's personal rights to their own health and bodies? If Republicans are so insistent on dismantling federal agencies that ensure rights for citizens, why do they insist on excessive government control of individuals and their personal or private choices? Why do Republicans insist that religious judgments should rule women's clinic decisions? Why do Republicans want to unfund Social Security so the retired and infirm can't get essential services? Republicans obstruct changes in these tax laws. Changes would fund Social Security for the foreseeable future because the wealthy would pay their share. Republicans want government support of white Christian schools. This is against U.S. laws protecting freedoms of religion. Citizens should not be publicly ostracized or bullied by a majority religion. Republicans claim a right for Americans to carry firearms. Health officials want the end to this bloody epidemic. Safety laws have been proposed that require background checks and registration of guns. Republicans have blocked passage of gun safety laws. Honest elections? Republicans pushed through Citizens United that changes our nation into an oligarchy, government by the wealthiest and for the wealthiest. This is an unfair law for the 99%. This is dishonesty and fraud at its worst. Republicans demand an immediate halt to U.S. funding regarding climate change. They believe a better approach is vague, giving incentives for human ingenuity. Well, that makes no sense at all for a global problem. Nations are cooperating on climate change. 34 countries have universal health insurance, so citizens don't go without care. U.S. citizens without any health insurance are mostly in Republican states that refuse to participate in the Affordable Care Act. Republicans want to build a wall along our southern border. Perhaps they're unaware that the Immigration Service carefully tests potential citizens over years and trains them in citizenship. Republicans treat minority U.S. citizens as felons and rapists and threaten to deport their American children. This is immoral treatment of U.S. citizens. The Republican agenda is blatant self-interest, fraud, and manipulation. This election, democracy is on the ballot. Every vote is essential.